that we took it that far, which is from where the statistics and everything came from. But I haven't. I need to go back and do it. You know, I really hadn't looked at this for a while, and when I was preparing for this, I totally expected that I was going to already see it in the, you know, in the literature.
Right.
And when I realized I didn't, there were websites, you know, supporting it, but not more published data. I'm thinking, even though that was a 2010 study, I probably need to go back and do
But
this.
the study that you presented this morning, where they include, and that was randomized.
With the local
With the local con, that's interesting, like you said. I mean, it was a different design,
Well-
but it's still, and they have the continuous monitoring, so they can really see the.
How
Right.
does this work?
They
in
did not
conjunction?
do
But they didn't
snacks
give, they did not give
and
a four
protein.
Well, there were some of them got the mini glucagon, and some of them got the mini glucagon,
And cheese.
and cheese crackers.
Right.
Yeah.
But nobody got rapid acting carb with glucagon.
No, and nobody really got, I mean, I would never, just with the data that we already know about how glucagon works,
Right.
I would never have thought that that would cover the whole, plus my experience in the practice with kids that are sick. I know they can't eat, they're nauseated or they're throwing up. If parents have to watch and it has to be re-given. And it's just better than going to the ER for an IV. And parents prefer to do that. So both of those things, I would never have just done it, but I think it was important with the continuous glucose monitoring that Bruce did that. I think, you
So
know,
did he, when he was doing this continuous glucose monitoring study, did he have a separate protocol to see what was going on, or did he follow this protocol?
he did not follow
He did
the
one.
He did his own
Yes,
thing
he
to
did his
figure
own
out.
thing.
Okay, so we still don't have the continuous glucose monitoring with. Okay.
I would love this.
And
When,
his was also randomized too.
Yeah.
yeah. When they're here, they work in there, and when the kids that are on study for them those kids we don't touch when they're on study. You know,
Right,
we take care of them like we do all day, like when they did the closed loop study this last summer. During the day, we do things like always. But when those kids are getting ready and they're getting them on the closed loop, those kids we don't touch them. They're totally handled by their team, by their protocol. And it's worked. We've been able to do that. I mean, they did 5 kids a night. And so all of us knew those 5 kids, and we did not touch them. If we were in the cabin, their staff weren't there. Obviously, in an emergency, we would treat, but normally we would give them the juice, and we would get one of them. Have somebody come down and they would take, and that's how we did it, and it worked. And we did it on the sensor study that way too.
During the night, when you checked somebody, they're low, you gave them any glucagon, 4 ounces of juice, you checked them 15 minutes later, they came up, you gave them the crackers. When did you check them again?
Yes, so
Or did you
of,
check them again, or did
Yes.
anybody drop back down? I mean, you give them 4 ounces and crackers in addition, so.
Yeah. the majority of kids, once they were up, we didn't check them, we didn't have any problem. But there were kids that either if there was any clinical suspicion, then we would check them again 2 hours later. That's what we would do. So we would finish midnight, we'd be in there, somewhere around 1 o'clock. And then by 3 o'clock, whoever was staying in here and up, available for whatever happened in the night after 2 o'clock, then they would go back at 3 o'clock and check them. And we were glad we did. I mean, there were some that it was still borderline that they came up. There were kids that had had multiple lows that we were worried about, and those were rechecked. But
So like
it
if
was
maybe the day before you had given glucagon in the middle of the night and they woke up low, then the next night if that happened,
we would
them 2
recheck
hours
them.
later.
We would
But
recheck
you'd
them.
wait 2 hours.
We would wait, once they had the peanut butter crackers, and we knew they were 100 or above, then we would retest them.
Is there a big difference between children that have glucagon or did not have the glucagon at that 2 hours?
We didn't, in the 2-hour check is not part of the study, but here, I haven't looked at that. I do not know the answer to that.
So with, again, okay, so my real doctors I work for Medtronic, right? We just launched the low glucose suspend pump today, which is exciting. So how is that gonna change? Is that, so again, it's 16 and older, but we know, I know our pediatrician will probably write off label. How is that gonna change? I mean, like, in reality, right?
Yes.
Take my Medtronic hat off on and that's the case.
That's right.
So how is that gonna change this whole protocol now with low glucose suspend? And what do we need to be aware of that can?
You know, what I'm hoping, and all I know about it is what I saw this last summer, because Bruce could show us
What?
the data.
I know that
It shouldn't, we shouldn't have to do anything.
right, is what I'm
We shouldn't have to
hoping.
do
Okay,
anything.
so that should,
That's what the-
that's the hope is that we won't have to do.
So
Yeah.
what we're saying is close loops that have glucagon in them too.
So no,
I
so
mean-
the new pump that just came on the market today,
Yeah.
when you reach below the threshold,
Well,
it
you go
says
50 or whatever you said.
60 is the limit, but then 60 to 90
It
is,
suspends for 2
Yes.
hours.
and you can restart in the middle, but it will suspend and then it will restart in 2 hours.
It doesn't also.
It does not have glucagon yet.
No, not
So why would that even change your protocol?
Because
I mean, if
then-
they were low at
Because you were gonna
60 and it went
suspend
on
it
and
anyway.
suspended,
Well,
it probably would have changed it.
It'll stop it before you start going up.
It will-
It's like the predictor.
Right, but I bet you it's not gonna change, I mean, if they're.
If they're really low, we would
It's-
still treat it.
Right,
But hopefully.
they're
we
not
won't
ever
see
going
so
to get
much.
really low.
Yeah,
So
hopefully
they
we
wouldn't
won't.
get into the mini.
They wouldn't get
glucagon
into,
range.
because they would
That's
be
right.
stopped before they were getting. But I don't know, that's what we don't
Right,
know.
60, yeah.
I mean, it's
don't
a
know.
whole new ballgame for us, so it'll be interesting.
Is there in an alert child, is there a low number that you give more than 200? Like, are you just,
We haven't ever needed to do that. But
Okay.
once they get where they're not coherent, we would give emergency.
but that kid is
But-
standing up and looking at you, like, let's say they're 27.
Yeah, if we caught it before the brain is registering
Yeah.
this, and we can correct it, again, juice would never correct it, or my experience has been, it won't correct it, but glucagon will correct it. We all have these stories, but a kid came in and said, Dr. Cook, I need some apple juice. And I turned to get him some apple juice and he collapsed in a seizure. We are not gonna, that's not gonna help that kid. But but if the kids that are awake and talking and dropping, even if they're shaky, but they're still totally coherent, they turn around with this. They just turn around right away.
And have you done it in your 8, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds?
We have not done it below 13.
You've
We
not
have
done
not.
that. Has
Now,
anybody
have you, are you
Yeah,
doing
we've
it?
Okay.
done it 2 or 3 times and haven't found much change. We have.
Much change and
It's
then it's
7
not
and you
working.
give the
Yeah,
one,
Yeah, a regular
It doesn't work.
okay.
Well, I mean, I'm saying 2 or 3
The ones that
times.
you've done it,
That's-
the younger
that's-
kids, it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean like
Ha-
8 units, 9 units?
Like doing 1 unit per
What?
year, like giving an 8-year-old.
Yeah, we give them about 5.
Um,
Well, depends on their size. Some of them are pretty big, a lot of them are small.
And it hasn't brought them up?
But you're not doing 1
But-
unit
But
per.
I'm talking about 2 or 3 kids. We
Okay.
just haven't had that
Okay.
many kids usually.
See, I would suspect that they're dropping, but I don't know, we haven't looked at that. And she just asked why we haven't. And it's because every session has a different medical director. And
You don't so.
Yeah.
that's it.
But
So you
that's
need
why
to publish
surveys
and
are
then
giving it to
shown
little
and
kids.
then they'll start doing it.
Exactly. Don't tell me I need to do that.
You have to.
Absolutely.
You need to publish.
This needs to be done.
I was gonna say, one of our stations was 9 to 12.
Yes.
And we still use
And you're doing 1 unit.
Oh,
per
good.
year. Per year.
And it works. That is good to know. That is
And
good
the
to know.
protocol that she went over.
Yeah.
That's on the website.
Janet Silverstein is our PDL.
Who is?
Janet Silverstein.
Yes, I know her.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, we do I do 9 to 11-year-olds and then 7 to 14-year-olds. And those are the two camps that we usually the same protocols.
So, we have a question about, if one kid comes in that early, so do they send like a bazillion kits, or do they send it in just vials like they do with the Landis?
They send a gazillion kids.
And then you draw it up from the kits.
We draw it up on the kids. And you just have to be careful with the little insulin syringes that going through that rubber stopper is real easy to bend them. That's the cautiously put those little things through. Which is not a problem when it's just in an emergency like that night.
Now, since I you have to have a refrigerated.
Yeah,
Refrigerated meaning that I was raised inside with.
yeah. Oh, okay, so that would make sense.
Yeah, because
With your kids in their own home where you're giving the glucagon, if they're
Yes.
sick or nauseated, how many times would you treat them and then they're not able to eat or drink if they're throwing up? Do you worry about glycogen depletion and, okay, now we just need to call Amplin?
Yes, it does bother me. I don't know how many would be with repeated doses. But I have done 3 doses, about an hour to an hour and a half apart is what it's turned out as the parents are watching the kid. And not had any issue. They have responded each time. But I do not know beyond that. But that is plenty of time to get the Humalog gone, or the Novolog or the Apidra or whatever. Get it gone. And that's usually our problem in a sick kid. Now, we have kids that then they're long, if it's a pump, we're good because we suspend it. But if they're on Lantus, then there have been some that we have had problems. But you don't have to be giving it every hour, an hour and a half with the Lantus because it's not bringing that blood sugar down. You're not fighting that. So I haven't needed more than 3 doses. Yeah, but I would worry about that too. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. We haven't had it be a problem when we're having kids use it for sports. I also have a kid that is into acting, and his mother has been having ulcers, afraid that he's going to go low while he's performing. So we have that all set up too, so that in case he needed it, he could get it very quickly.
Well, I guess if you gave it and they didn't respond, you would know that.
You would know it immediately, and our experience is that they have responded, and it is late. We need to.
How many kids, I know we can change, how many do you draw, like if you have 100 kids, you just drop like 1 vial worth, so that's, what is it, it's 2 milligrams, right? So you just drop 1 vial and you kind of disperse them,
Right.
and then if you blow through all of them by
If-
lunch, then you draw.
Then we draw them again, just like we do peanut butter crackers. In the same way.
How are people transporting that around? Like,
Right.
are people,
The glucagon.
yeah, if they're carrying it with them, how do you know that that syringe is not, or what do you do?
Yeah, obviously, nobody carries it for very long, but it
Yeah.
would be like in a backpack if they were out with somebody.
Sure.
And at night, it just goes in the midnight rounds kit.
Okay.
And they're all labeled and dated and timed, so we know that they're not getting past 24 hours.
Well, the other, finish in 5 minutes, okay? We start a little bit early because of the Billy Dancers.
How-
We're